Everyone, I am Ruben Diaz Jr., the Bronx Borough President. I wish that we were here under better circumstances. I wanted to come here twofold, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, as the Borough President, I wanted to express my condolences on behalf of 1.4 million Bronxites to the victim who passed, the family of the victim, as a result of leptospirosis. I want to let the family know that our prayers are with them and that we have received many different calls from all over the city of New York expressing condolences as well. The other thing I want to let it be known is that while one death is one too many, that we should keep in mind that less than 30 people in the city of New York have been infected or affected by or contracted leptospirosis since 2006. So there's no need for panic at this moment. We have been in contact with the elected officials in the area. We've been in contact with the city. There's going to be some more education. I think that what we need to do now is educate the public on exactly what it is that leptospirosis is. According to the CDC, is, as many of you have already reported, this is something that is comes from the leptospira bacteria. It's a cork-like bacteria that creates, once it's in a human being, you can contract it through mucus, through open wounds. It causes kidney failure. It causes liver failure. It causes pulmonary hemorrhage. You know, it could be obviously very, very deadly. So it's important that we continue to educate the public. But I'll tell you this, however, that when you look at the issue of, as it relates to rodents and rats, this is something that I hear complaints about all the time, not just in the Bronx. This is not just the Bronx issue. I hear about this throughout the city of New York. I hear about this from folks who continue to express the fact that there's a prevalence of rats and rodents in their neighborhoods. They see them in playgrounds. They see them in parks. They see them whenever there's a vacant lot in certain streets. They see them in NYCHA developments. They see them in the subway. They have them in their buildings. And so this is, ladies and gentlemen, an issue that's a quality of life issue. It's a health issue. And unfortunately, what we've seen over the last couple of days, it's a life and death issue. And begs the question, you know, what is the city, what are we doing about it? Whether, you know, for many administrations, we've seen many complaints as it relates to rodents and rats. And in this particular issue with this building, we have to understand that one of the major problems is that we have these landlords that are slumlords. In this case, there's been about 1,500 complaints. 1,500 complaints. At what point, whenever we speak of housing development, new housing, whenever we speak about displacement, we have to make sure that those individuals who already have an apartment, those individuals who are paying their rent, that we have a way of protecting them so they can feel dignified, so they can have someplace safe, so that their children don't have to compete with rats and rodents and other rodentia. I know that in the city of New York, they have a pest control reservoir in many different communities. I'm here to say that that's good that we identify, but we have to do more than just identify where these reservoirs are. How is it that we mitigate? How is it that we all come together? Whether it's, again, it's in a park, in a playground. Not too far from me, I get complaints where on Gerard and Walton Avenue, there have been many rodents and many rats out in the streets. And so we have to deal with the rat and rodent and the rodentia problem. But we also have to deal with those landlords who continue to have either violations, complaints. How is it that when we have illegal conversions, One of the things that is on everybody's lips these days are immigrants and immigrant rights, and how do we protect them, especially with the vitriol that's coming out of Washington, D.C. Well, when you look at many of these apartments, some of them are illegally converted. Many of the people who live there, unfortunately, are undocumented. How do we create an avenue for them to be able to report their landlord without being at risk of harassment or homelessness if the landlord wants to kick them out? And so these are all many different questions that we are going to continue to work with the local leaders here, with leaders throughout the city. I'm scheduled for a phone call with the mayor a little later earlier this afternoon, and hopefully we can get to a place where this never ever happens again, and hopefully we can get to a place on this specific issue where this does not have more and more sickness, and certainly we don't want any more deaths. Brevemente en el español, me llamo Ruben Diaz, soy el presidente del condado del Bronx. Lamentablemente estamos aquí porque le queremos expresar nuestro pésame a la familia de la víctima que murió lamentablemente del resultado de esta enfermedad que vino de las ratas en este edificio, o no solamente en este edificio, sino en un sinnúmero de edificios aquí en el Gran Concourse. Pero le quiero expresar que esto no es solamente un problema en el condado del Bronx. Esto es algo que lo vemos a nivel de la ciudad de Nueva York. Estamos hablando con la ciudad, pero también tenemos que expresarle de nuestra parte a la ciudad que qué es lo que vamos a hacer para evitar que esto suceda de nuevo. ¿Cómo nosotros vamos a combatir un problema que se ha visto no solamente ahora recientemente, sino por muchas décadas en el Bronx, en Brooklyn, en Queens, en Staten Island, en Manhattan, cuando se habla de los ratones, no solamente en nuestros parques, en nuestros edificios, sino también en las estaciones de trenes, y también los caseros que por muchos años siguen, aunque hay muchas quejas y querellas. Aquí tenemos un casero que tiene 1.500 quejas, que nadie ha hecho nada sobre esas quejas. Esto resulta no solamente en enfermedades, pero peor, como lo hemos visto, en muertes, y eso se tiene que evitar. Pues,
why do you think, I mean, this is not the new riots in the Bronx. Why do you think this is happening now and the spotlight's on it?
Look, because we had a death. And again, this is one person died, 2 people have been diagnosed and have felt ill, and the city obviously has to report this. But again, I don't want people to think because of the reporting, because it happened in my borough, that when we speak of rats and rodents, that it's just a Bronx issue. This is something that we need to deal with all over the city of New York. Can we solve the rat problem? Probably not, but we can certainly mitigate it. And there have been so many complaints, either from buildings that are privately owned, from NYCHA developments, to public property, where we see time and time again. And by the way, I'll say this, that the community, we all have to understand that we have to do our part as well. So, we have to throw away garbage, make sure that we don't put food in places where rats come out because they simply want to eat something, and then it could result into the sickness like leptospirosis, as we've seen in these 3 incidents.
So is this in your opinion, and from the information that you gathered, is this something that developed from neglect of the owners of the building?
When you talk about 1,500 complaints, absolutely there's neglect. And this is not the only building. Again, whether it's in the Bronx or wherever I go, there are so many people. By the way, it's not just in minority communities, everywhere, who complain about the rat problem. And so if we complain about it and it gets neglected, it could result in what we have here today. So yes, the answer to that is there's been neglect.
Sir, the person who died...
Hold on.
One at a time, go ahead. Okay, can you tell us when your office was made aware of the issue the cluster in this area, and if you're satisfied with their investigation at this point?
So yeah, it was yesterday afternoon that we were made aware. There's been conversations with my team, with the health department here in the city of New York. Like I said earlier, I'll have a one-on-one conversation with the mayor to see from his take on exactly what it is that they're doing. It is there that I also want to express the concerns of not just this area, but what are we doing in other parts of the Bronx and other parts of the city to mitigate this problem. And so as of right now, I think that we have had that line of communication that is needed. I'll see exactly what they're doing moving forward. I know later on this evening there will be a session here with the tenants, but we are keeping a close eye on this to make sure that this problem is not exacerbated.
So the person who died, do they live in this building?
We don't know that yet. HIPAA laws don't allow for us to divulge any information on this individual at this moment.
What can you tell us about the victims? Can you also tell us a little bit about this What complaints was your office directly?
311 complaints, and so, but this is an ongoing issue with this specific owner. As I spoke to the local elected leaders here today, they've been dealing with this owner for many years, and again, you know, the city, the Department of Health, Parks Department, NYCHA, everybody has to do their part, but we also have to find a way to hold landlords like this accountable.
What can you tell us about the victims that have gotten sick and the person that died? I know there's not a lot that you can tell, but can you tell us age, that kind of thing?
We know that for the most part, the average age when I speak of less than 30 cases has been in about 40 years plus. But there's really not much that we can say about the victims here. I know that there's a gentleman who was able to, you know, to survive, but there's not much that we can say about the victims because we are not able to obtain that information. It's, you know, we have to protect their privacy.
Can you tell us what other buildings affected?
Do we have the addresses of the other buildings? We do not yet. We don't, but we can get back to you.
Last question.
How many cases?
I don't know, but whenever you get, again, whenever you have a situation where time and time again, people are complaining about this over-infestation of rats, and time again, those complaints are not adhered to, the problem is not mitigated, whether they have pre-existing health issues or not. Their health is being put at risk. So whether you have children that are going into the park and there's rats in the park, whether you have somebody who's totally healthy who lives in a NYCHA development, we need to do something as a city about rats, rodents, and rodentia. And we need to do that now before we have any more deaths and any more illnesses.
Is your office doing anything in particular to assist the people who survived or the family of the deceased? Any special things going on?
We haven't had any specific requests, but this is why I'm here as well, to express my condolences and to let them know, and anybody else who has not come forward, that we are here to help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You.